हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी गुड इवनिंग। आई होप एवरीथिंग शुड हेल्प फाइन। इस वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करेंगे 2017 के अंदर जो यूपीएससी ने कॉम्प्रिहेंशन पूछा था उसके बारे में। लेट अस स्टार्ट। 166 तक 2016 कंप्लीट हो चुका। अब देखते हैं नई पैसेज। व्हाट क्लाइमेट चेंज विल अनडिनाइबली डू इज कोज और एम्पलीफाई इवेंट है दैट हैजन द रिडक्शन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज। ठीक है, कंपटीशन ओवर दीज डिमिनाइजिंग रिसोर्सेज वुड एंश्योर, क्या इंश्योर करेंगे, इन फॉर्म ऑफ पॉलिटिकल और इवन वायलेंट कंफ्लिक्ट भी हो सकता है। रिसोर्स बेस्ड कंफ्लिक्ट हो सकते हैं, रेयरली बीन ओवर्ट एंड thus difficult to isolate, लग रहा नहीं मुश्किल हो। Instead they take on veneers that appear more politically palatable. Conflict over resources like water are often cloaked in the ease of identity or ideology. What does passage imply? Resource based conflict की हम बात करें, always politically motivated, देखते हैं। There is no political solution to resolve environmental resource. Environmental issue contribute to resource stress and political conflict हो सकते हैं। थोड़ा सा यार पॉजिटिव स्टेटमेंट है। पॉलिटिकल कंफ्लिक्ट बेस्ड आइडेंटिटी और आइडियोलॉजी कैन नॉट बी रिजोल्व, कैन नॉट बी, एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट की तरफ हमें बिल्कुल भी नहीं जाना। ऑप्शन सी इज राइट आंसर। कुछ यहाँ पे इन्वायरमेंटल इश्यू की हमने बात की थी जो रिसोर्सेज। नेक्स्ट पैसेज, द मैन हु इज प्रीपेचुअली हेजिटेट करता है, so two things he will do first and will do neither. ठीक है, द मैन who resolve but suffer in resolution to be changed by the first counter suggestion of a friend who fluctuate from opinion to opinion and veers from plan to plan can never accomplishing anything. ठीक है, he will be at best stationary and probably retrograde in all. It's only the man who first consult wisely, then resolve firmly, and then execute his purpose with inflexible perseverance, and is made by those petty difficulties which daunt a weaker spirit that can advance to eminence in any line. Okay. Keynote क्या है इसका? Emerging from the passage seems to be emerging. We should consult wisely, then resolve firmly. Yes, it can be. We should reject suggestion of friends and remain unchanged. There are two extreme statements. How we can conclude it? देखते हैं. We should always remain broad-minded. Always ये थोड़ा सा ब्रॉड माइंडेड की बात कर रहा है, या रहना चाहिए। यस, थोड़ा बहुत हो सकता है। वी शुड बी रिजोल्यूट एंड अचीवमेंट ओरिएंटेड होना चाहिए। तो द राइट आंसर इज वी शुड फर्स्ट कंसल्ट वाइजली एंड रिजोल्व फर्मली। सारी बात यहीं तक है। नेक्स्ट, ड्यूरिंग द समर इन आर्कटिक ओशियन में, समर की बात की गई है, सी आइस हैज बीन मेल्टिंग, मेल्ट हो रही है। अर्लियर जल्दी से और तेजी से हो रही है। एंड विंटर फ्रीज हैज बीन कमिंग लेटर, विंटर बाद में आ रही है। इन द लास्ट 3 decade extent of summer ice has been decline हुई है about 30%. The lengthening period of summer melt threatened to undermining the whole Arctic food web को and atop which said stand polar bear. So the following is most crucial message कौन सा है? Climate change has caused Arctic summer to be short but temperature to be high. Yes, temperature climate change का, but exactly यहाँ पे को हमने नहीं डिस्कस। Polar bear can be shifted to south pole to ensure their survival. How we can shift? Without the presence of polar bear, the food chain in Arctic region will disappear. Climate change is threat to survival of polar bear. Yes, it is more economically sound. ठीक है, तो इसी तरह से एक्सट्रीम स्टेटमेंट को देख काटते हुए चलना है। Why do we prefer prefer open defecation and not one toilet? Or if we have, they have them, only use them so many times. Recent research has shown two critical elements, idea of purity and pollution, and not wanting pits or septic tank to fill because they have to be emptied. Okay. There are issues that nobody wants to talk about, but if we want to eradicate the practice to open defecation, they have to be confronted and deal properly. अच्छे से उसको deal करना पड़ेगा। Which of the following is most crucial message कौन सा है? Idea of purity and pollution are so deep rooted that cannot be removed the mind of people. देखते हैं। People have perceived toilet and pit emptying as clean and not polluting. People cannot change their old habit. People have neither civic sense nor sense of privacy. So the people have to perceive toilet and pit emptying as clean and not polluting. This is the right one. And B. In the last 2 decades, पिछले 20 सालों में, the world domestic product, that is GDP, has increased by 50% बढ़ी है, whereas inclusive wealth has increased by mere 6%, both come. In recent decade, GDP-driven economic performance has only harmed inclusive wealth like human capital, natural capital like forest, land, and water. While the world's human capital, which stands 57% of total inclusive wealth, grew only 8%. Natural capital, 23% of total inclusive wealth, declined by 30% of the worldwide in the last 2 decades. The most crucial कौन सा है? More emphasis should be laid on development of natural capital. Then growth driven by GDP is only neither desirable nor sustainable. The economic performance of the countries of the world is not satisfactory. It seems something good. The world needs more capital under the present circumstances. So the right answer is the growth driven by GDP only is neither desirable nor sustainable because the question for the growth driven by GDP only neither desirable nor sustainable. Okay. Next passage by 2020, when the global economy is expected to run short of 50 million young people. India's its youth क्या हमारी 47 million will fill the gap. इस gap को fill कर सकता है. It is in the context that labor reforms are often cited as the way to unlock double digital growth हमें करनी है इंडिया के. इसको कर सकते हैं. In 2014, India's labor force was estimated 40% था total population का, but 93% of the force was unorganized sector में लगी हुई है. Over the last decade, compound annual growth, that is CAGR, of employment has slowed to 0.5%, with about 40 million jobs created during the last year, when the labor force increased by 15 million. Most rational inference कौन सा है? India must control its population growth to reduce unemployment rate. How we can say? Labor reform are required in India to make optimum use. Yes, it is valid. India poised to achieve the double digital growth very soon. India is capable of supplying the skilled young to other countries. Option B is labor reforms की हमें आवश्यकता है. Next is a very fast lesson that we should be taught to us when we are of enough to understand is that complete freedom from obligation to work is unnatural and ought to be illegal. As we escape share of burden of work only by throwing in someone's shoulder. Nature's ordained that the human race shall perish of famine if it stop working. अच्छा. We cannot escape this tyranny. The question we have to settle is how much leisure we can afford to allow ourselves. Main idea क्या था? Essential है human being का काम करना. Yes. There should be balance होना चाहिए. Yes, it can be. Working is a tyranny that we have to face. It can be. And human understanding of nature work is essential. This is the first passage जब हमें ये लग रहा है कि सारे ही ऑप्शन हो सकते हैं. एंड द एसेंशियल है वर्क करने के लिए ऑप्शन ए. देयर इज नो हार्म, कोई भी ऐसी यहाँ पे इसमें नुकसान वाली बात नहीं है. इन कल्टिवेटिंग हैबिट सो लॉन्ग एज दे आर नॉट इंजीरियस, जब तक वो खतरनाक ना हो. इंडीड मोस्ट ऑफ अस a little more than bundle of habits. Take away our habit, and this residue would hardly be worth bothering about. We could not get on without them. They simplify the mechanism of life. They enable us to do a multitude of things automatically, which we had to give fresh and original thought to them each time. Would make existence an impossible confusion. Okay, the author suggests that habit and to make our life difficult, precise our life, add precision, make it easier us to live and to mechanize our life. इसमें हम बात करें hardly भी worth है, or not without them. So easier hardly see. Attitude original thought. Next 175. We have hard work ahead. There is no resting for any of us till we redeem our pledges, till we make all the people of India what destiny intends them to be. We are citizens of a great country on the verge of bold advance, and we have to live up to that high standard. All of us, to whatever religion we may belong, are equally the children of India with equal rights. Privilege and obligation, we cannot encourage communalism and narrow-mindedness. For no nation can be great because people are narrow in thought or action. तो ब्रॉड सेंस में हमने कहीं ना कहीं डिस्कस करने की कोशिश की है. चैलेंज क्या उत्तर के लिए? to the public is to achieve क्या करना चाहिए? High standard of living, progress, privilege, equal privilege of destiny, political interference, spirit of adventure, economic parity, hard work, brotherhood, and national unity. The right answer is D. Hard work, brotherhood, and national unity की हमने यहाँ पे वो किया. Next is the individual according to Roche. Parts his person and all his power in common under the supreme direction of the general will and our corporate capacity we receive each member of an individual part of the whole. तो बेस्ट डिस्क्राइब कौन सा कर रहा था? नेचर ऑफ जनरल विल का. द सम टोटल ऑफ प्राइवेट विल्स ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल all its power and common under the supreme general. What is articulated by elected representative of individual collected goods distinction for private the material interest of the community. 166 का दिया है collective goods distinction and the private. जैसे हम देख सकते हैं and we receive each member an individual part. तो अलग अलग हम बात कर सकते हैं प्राइवेट के कंटेक्स्ट में. नेक्स्ट इन ए डेमोक्रेटिक स्टेट एक लोकतांत्रिक राज्य के अंदर वेर ए हाई डिग्री ऑफ पॉलिटिकल मैच्योरिटी ऑफ पीपल ऑब्टेन हो जाती है. लोगों के अंदर पॉलिटिकल मैच्योरिटी आ जाती है. कंफ्लिक्ट बिटवीन द विल ऑफ द सोवरेन लॉ एंड ऑर्गेनाइज विल ऑफ द रिमेन सेल्डम अकर्स. ये सब होता रहता है. व्हाट डज पैसेज इंप्लाई? इन ए डेमोक्रेसी फोर्स इज मेन फिनोमिना है. एक्चुअल कैसे बोल सकते हैं? मैच्योर डेमोक्रेसी फोर्स टू ए ग्रेट एक्सटेंट मेन फिनोमा है sovereignty का. In mature democracy, use of force is irrelevant है actual exercise of sovereignty. In mature democracy, force is narrowed down है. Marginal phenomena actual इसके लिए 177 का D actual में narrow down है marginal phenomena ये सब. Next, a successful democracy depends upon widespread interest and participation in politics पे depend करता है. In which voting एक essential part है. To deliberately refrain from taking such an interest and from voting is a kind of implied anarchy. Is to refuse one's political responsibility while enjoying the benefit of pre-political society. तो किसकी बात की? वोटिंग वगैरह की. तो राइट टू वोट, राइट टू पार्टिसिपेट इन पॉलिटिक्स से मैसेज का क्या था? राइट, ड्यूटी टू वोट, फ्रीडम टू वोट. कौन सा होना चाहिए यहाँ पे? हम बोल सकते हैं ड्यूटी अगर पॉलिटिकल रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात की तो ड्यूटी का नेक्स्ट बोल सकते हैं. ऑप्शन ए दिया गया यहाँ पे. 179. In a free country, the man who reaches the position of a leader is usually one of the outstanding character and ability का हो सकता है. Moreover, it is usually possible to these foresee that he will reach such a position. Since early in his life, one can see his quality of character, but this is not always true in the case of dictator. Often he reaches his position of the through chance, very often the unhappy state of the country. क्या सजेस्ट करा? लीडर फोर्सिंग हिज पिक्चर पोजीशन ओनली बाय ए फ्री कंट्री. लीडर must be countries free and disappear. Spare of a country sometimes lead to dictatorship. Again, D. Dictatorship को हम वो कर रहे हैं. The greater blessing that technological progress जो है has in store for mankind is not of course an accumulation of material possession. The amount of these that can be effectively enjoyed by one individual in one lifetime is not great. एक बार कर लिया तो, but there is not the same narrow limit to the possibilities of the enjoyment of leisure. The gift of leisure may be abused by people who have no experience of making use of it. Yet the creative use of leisure by minority in society has been mainspring of all human progress beyond the primitive level. Assumption कौन-कौन से बना सकते हैं? People always see the leisure time as a gift and use the acquiring more material possession. Always काम कैसे होता है? Use of leisure by some people to produce new and original things if resources and human progress का. Some of the following is valid. So only B. Always के context में हमने नहीं discuss किया. Next, there is more than modicum of truth in the assertion that working knowledge of ancient history is necessary to intelligent interpretation of current event के लिए. But the sage who uttered these words of wisdom might we have added something on the benefit of studying, particularly the famous battle of history, for the lesson they contain for those who lead and aspire to leadership. Such a study will reveal certain qualities and attributes which enable the winner to win and certain deficiency which cause the loser to lose. The student will see as the same pattern recurs consistently again and again throughout the centuries. With reference to passage, कौन सा assumption हो सकते हैं? Study of the famous battle of history would help us understanding the modern warfare को कैसे study कर सकते हैं. Studying the history is essential to anyone who aspire to be a leader. Essential, how we can say essential? Both are correct. Incorrect, sorry. Option D. Disruption of traditional institution, identification and loyalties is likely to lead ambivalent situation. It is possible that some people may renew their identification with the traditional group, whereas others align themselves with new groups and symbols emergent from process of political development. In addition, political development tend to foster group awareness of a variety of class, tribe, region, clan, language, region, and occupation. Which one of the following is best explanation of above passage? Political development is not a unilinear process, both growth and decay. Traditional societies succeed in resisting positive aspect of political development. It is impossible for traditional society, impossible to break away the lingering loyalties and sustenance of political traditional loyalty is conducive to economic development. The right answer is political development is not a unilinear process for the involvement of both growth and decay. Next, there has been significant trend worldwide toward the regionalism के context में in government, resulting in widespread transfer करें power downward toward the region and communities since 1990. तो अलग-अलग group बन रहे हैं region wise. This process, which involves the creation of new political entities and body at the sub-national level, and an increase in their content and power is known as devolution. इसको बोलते हैं. Devolution has been characterized being made up of three factors: political legitimacy, decentralization of authority, and decentralization of resources. Political legitimacy here means mass demand from below of the centralization process के लिए जब mass में demand करे, which is able to create a political force to take. In many cases, decentralization is initiated by the upper tier of government. अपने आप भी शुरू करते हैं without sufficient political mobilization के बिना ही at the grassroots level. In such cases, the decentralization order does not fulfill its objective. तो अगर अपने आप करते हैं तो वो नहीं है. So most logical, rational and critical inference कौन सा है? Emergence of powerful mass leader is essential to create sub-national political entities or regime, ensure successful devolution. Upper tier of government should impose devolution by law. Devolution to be successful require democracy in which there is a free expression of will of the people who lower level to per their active participation of grassroots level पे. For devolution, it takes place a strong feeling of regionalism in the masses essential. The best feeling वाली कौन सी है? C. ठीक है, grassroots level participation सिंपल से. Next, 84. We live in digital times में हम रह रहे हैं. Digital is not just something that we strategic and specifically to do a few tasks. Our very perception of who we are, how we connect to the world around us, and the ways in which we define our domains of life, labor and language are hugely structured by the digital technologies. And the digital is everywhere, like air is invisible. We live within the digital system. We live in the intimate gadget. We interact through the digital media. Very presence and imagination of digital and dramatically restructured our life. The digital, far from being a tool, is a condition and context that define the shape and boundaries of our understanding, society or structure of governance. So most logical कौन सा है? All problem of government can be solved. All कैसे solve करोगे? Speaking of digitals or life and living, our creativity and imagination cannot be expressed without digital media. Use of digital system imperative existence of mankind in future. The speaking of digital is speaking over life and speed. Next, IMF has pointed out that fast-growing economies of Asia face the risk of falling into middle income trap में फंस सकती है. It means that average income in these countries will till now have been growing rapidly. Average income बढ़ेगी. We will stop growing beyond a point of that is hell sort of income होगी developed west के अंदर. And the IMF identifies a number of causes middle trap के लिए, and none of these is surprising from infrastructure to weak institution. यही है. Less than favorable macroeconomic condition. But the road overall cause says IMF is collapse the growth of productivity. Most इसमें कौन सी है successful? Is of most logical and rational. Once a country reaches in the middle income, it runs rise of falling productivity, which will lead to stagnant income. Yes, it can be. Falling into middle income is general characteristics of fast growing economy. ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं? 185. There is no hope emerging Asian economy is sustained. कैसे नहीं है? As a growth of productivity, the performance of Asian countries is not satisfactory. Asian का तो अलग से कुछ कर ही नहीं रखा. Option A. Next, an innovative India will be inclusive. Okay. As tell as technology advance, improve its lives of all Indians. Innovation and research and development can mitigate research, increase in the social inequality, and relieve the pressure created by rapid urbanization. The growing divergence in productivity between agriculture and knowledge-intensive manufacturing and service threat to increase income inequalities. By encouraging India's R&D, labs and university to focus on the needs of poor people and by improving the ability of informal firms and to absorb knowledge and innovation and research agenda can counter this effect. इसको कर सकता है research and research करोगे. Inclusive innovation can lower the cost of goods भी कम कर सकता है. Create income in earning कर सकता है to the poor people. सबसे important कौन सा है? Most logical पूछा है. Innovation and R&D is the only way. Okay, reduce the rural urban migration. Every rapidly growing country needs a minimized divergence productivity in agricultural sectors. Inclusive innovation help in create egalitarian society. Rapid urbanization takes place only country economic growth अगर rapid है तो 186 का राइट आंसर इज बिल्कुल अपना सिंपल सा egalitarian सभी के लिए. Next is climate change is likely to expose a large number of people, increasing environmental risk, forcing them to migrate हो सकते हैं उससे भाई. The international community is yet to recognize this new category of migrant को recognize करना पड़ेगा. There is no consensus on the definition and status of climate refugees का कोई वो नहीं है. Distinct meaning the term refugee carry under international law. There is still a gap है in understanding how climate change will work as the root cause of migration कैसे है. अभी समझने की आवश्यकता है क्योंकि यहाँ पे अभी गैप है. Even if there is a recognition है climate refugee का, who is going to provide protection? More emphasis has been given to the international migrant due to climate change. But there is a need है to recognize the migration of such people within the country, also that their problems can be addressed properly. Most rational and inference कौन सी है? The world will not be able to cope with large-scale migration of climate refugees. We must find stop करने के लिए क्या बोल सकते? Climate change will be the most important reason for migration of the people in the future. Relationship between the climate change and migration is not yet properly understood. तो अभी तक हमने इसको अच्छे से समझा ही नहीं है. ऑप्शन डी. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज many farmer use synthetic pesticide use करते हैं to kill infesting insect. The consumption of pesticide in some of the developed countries touching 3000 gram per hectare हो रहा है. Unfortunately, there is a report है these compound poses are inherent toxicity है that endanger the health of farm operator, consumer and environment की health को. Synthetic pesticide generally persistence environment के अंदर entering in food chain they destroy the microbial diversity and cause ecological imbalance कर सकते हैं. Their indiscriminate use has resulted in development of resistance आ सकता है insect और insecticide के लिए. इंसेक्ट में आ सकता है इंसेक्टिसाइड के लिए रेजिस्टेंस. अपसेटिंग ऑफ बैलेंस इन नेचर हो सकता है एंड रिसर्जेंस हो सकता है ट्रीटेड पॉपुलेशन. नेचुरल पेस्ट कंट्रोल यूजिंग द Botanical pesticide is safer to the user, नेचुरल वाले वो है environment because they break down the harmless compound. Break down into the harmless compound में टूट जाते हैं within hours. And presence of sunlight, plants with a pesticidal property have a nature of millions of years without any ill or adverse effect नहीं होता. They are easily decompose हो जाएंगे by microbes. They help in maintenance of biological diversity को अच्छे से करेंगे. Predators has been reduction of the environmental contamination कम करेंगे. Botanical pesticide formulate from the plant and biodegradable can use in the crop production. Substantial sustainable के लिए आप यूज कर सकते हैं. तो सारी हमने देख ली. तो कौन सा assumption सही है? Synthetic pesticides would never be used. कभी यूज ना करो, ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? Botanical pesticides are more effective as compared to more effective का हमने वैसे नहीं बताया यार. So only B. ठीक है, ऐसे हमने देखा. One of the aim of sustainable agriculture, minimal ecological balance. Imbalance, sorry, balance, imbalance. Which of the following is correct regarding the biopesticide? They are not hazardous to human health. Yes, it can be. They are persistent. No, they are not persistent. तो वन तो है. They are essential to maintain the biodiversity of the ecosystem. Yes, you can say. But यहाँ पे नहीं दिया गया इसको. Only A. Next, air quality is a way to combine measurement of multiple air pollutant को आप कर सकते हो एक single number के अंदर और rating में. This index is ideally kept constantly updated and available in different place में है. Then AQI is most useful है when lots of pollution data are being gathered and when pollution level are normally, but not no and always in such area population levels spike for a few days. Public can quickly prevent action like staying in the indoors in something. Unfortunately, in not urban India, pollution level in many large cities are so high that they remain above any health regulatory standards के ऊपर ही रहता है. If your index stays in the dangerous region and day after day, there is no much such one can do other than getting used to ignoring it. Most logical कौन सा है? Our government are not responsive कैसे नहीं है? Sustainable is no need of air quality. Air quality index is not helpful to residents of many countries. In every city, public awareness about pollution problems should increase. Air quality index is not helpful to the residents of many our large cities. Next, this is productive job are vital for growth and good job is best form है individual का. More than half of our population depend किसके ऊपर है? Agriculture के ऊपर. But the experience of other countries suggests that number of people depend on agriculture will have shrink if their per capita income in agriculture go up substantially. While industry is creating jobs, too, too many such jobs are low productivity, non-contractual basis, unorganized sector offering low incomes, little protection, no benefit. Service jobs are relatively of high productivity है, but employment growth in services has been slow है recent year के अंदर. Most logical rational कौन सी है? We must create condition for fast growth of highly productive jobs to ensure employment growth and inclusion. Yes, it can be, but exactly we can say because सारी statement पढ़नी चाहिए. आपने आंसर निकाल लिया. We must shift the farm worker to highly productive manufacturing and service sector में. We must shift. कैसे must shift करेंगे? We must create conditions for faster growth go outside the agriculture. We must emphasize cultivation of yielding hybrid variety करो, genetically करो. 191 का right answer is we must create condition for faster growth, productive job outside agriculture. Because it is not that much beneficial. Landscape scale approach to land use can encourage कर सकता greater biodiversity को outside protected areas की. तो landscape करो. During hurricane Mitch in 1998, farms using eco-agriculture practice suffered 58%, 70%, and 90% of land damage in Honduras and Nicaragua and Guatemala respectively. Then using farm conventional techniques in Costa Rica, vegetative windbreak and sugars boosted farmer income from the pasture and coffee, while also increasing bird diversity. Bee pollination is more effective when agriculture fields are closer to natural and semi-natural habitat के आसपास हो तो. Finding that matters because 8.7% of the world 107 लीडिंग क्रॉप्स डिपेंड किसके ऊपर है? एनिमल पोलिनेटर के ऊपर। इन कोस्टा रिका, निकारागुआ एंड कोलंबिया। सिल्वी पास्टोरल सिस्टम, इसमें आप फॉरेस्ट वगैरह लगाते हैं साइड में, या फिर ट्रीज लगाते हो along with the crops that integrate trees with the pasture, improving the sustainability of cattle production, diversifying and increasing farmer income. Most logical and responsive agriculture practice that enable biodiversity can often increase and farm out to reduce the vulnerability to disaster. Yes, it can be. All the countries of the world should be encouraged replace eco agriculture को करना चाहिए conventional agriculture. Eco agriculture should be permitted in protected areas without destroying the biodiversity. The yield of food grape will be very high if agroecological इको एग्रीकल्चर ले तो कैसे बोल सकते हैं yield बहुत ज्यादा हो? ऑप्शन सही ठीक है यहाँ पे। एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिस enhance बायोडाइवर्सिटी को कर सकता है। नेक्स्ट, द मीडियम टर्म चैलेंज फॉर इंडियन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इज टू मूव फ्रॉम लोअर टू हाई टेक सेक्टर में जाना है, फ्रॉम लोअर टू हायर वैल्यू एडेड सेक्टर में, लोअर टू हायर प्रोडक्टिविटी सेक्टर। मीडियम टेक इंडस्ट्री आर प्राइमरली कैपिटल इंटेंसिव है। रिसोर्स प्रोसेसिंग एंड हाई टेक इंडस्ट्री आर मेनली कैपिटल एंड टेक्नोलॉजिकल intensive है. In order to push and share of manufacturing in overall GDP, projected 25% of the Indian manufacturing needs to capture the global market in sector having a rising trend in demand. And these sectors were largely high technology and capital intensive. So most logical कौन सा? India GDP display added, high value added and high productivity level in medium tech and resource processing industry. Promotion of agriculture not possible. India should push up the public investment and encourage करना चाहिए private investment in research in some में. India has already gained a great share, we can say. India should keep public investment. ये सब बताया है ऑप्शन सी। आज थोड़ा सा तबीयत को है इसलिए मैं सीधा आंसर आपको बता रहा हूँ। Please bear. Over the last decade, Indian agriculture has become more robust with record production of food grains and oilseed. Increased procurement consequently has added good stock of food grains in the granaries. India is one of the world's top producer of rice, wheat, milk, fruits and vegetables. India is still home of a quarter of all undernourished people. On an average, almost half of the total expenditure of nearly half of the household is on food. Okay. Most logical corollary. Increasing the efficiency of the farm to work value is reduce the poverty. Increasing agriculture productivity automatically eliminate poverty. Productivity की बात नहीं किया है. Increase India's agriculture is already great and it is not necessary to increase. Allocation more fund to social welfare and poverty alleviation program will ultimately eliminate कर देगा इसको. अल्टीमेटली भी नहीं बोलते तो ऑप्शन ए इंक्रीजिंग एफिशिएंसी ऑफ फार्म टू वर्क वैल्यू चेन आप कर सकते हो उसमें वैल्यू ऐड द स्टेट आर लाइक pearls and the center is thread which turns them into the necklace बनाती है. If the thread snaps, the pearls are scattered. Corporate statement. A strong sentence, strong center or federation of strong. Strong federation is binding है for national integrity. Strong center hindrance कैसे हो सकता है? Precipitate of federation कैसे हो सकता है? 195 है, right answer is B. Strong center binding, इसको बांध के रखिए. Next, today's last. Really, I think that poorest that in England has a life to live as the greatest she. Therefore, truly, I think it is clear that every man that is to live under government must, by his own consent, to put himself under the government. And I do not think that the poorest man in England is not at all bound in strict sense the government that he has to a voice of to put himself under. Statement argue क्या कर रहा है यहाँ? Destruction of wealthy, rule of consent of the government, ये आपको कर रहा है. Rule of poor नहीं कर रहा है. So that's it. आज के लिए इतना ही. Thank you so much.